Hey now! What is up, everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka Review King MB, and this is my 31 days of horror movie reviews. And I just got done rewatching a film that I saw a very long time ago as a kid. I'm watching it for the second time now. Wishmaster! Wishmaster is a 1997 film that is presented by Wes Craven. It's not directed by Wes Craven, thank God, but I guess he produced it or he presents it, whatever the fuck that means. This film is directed by Robert Kurtzman, and goddamn, fuck, boy. I vaguely remember watching this movie as a kid and thinking that it was creepy, that it was disturbing, that it was gory, but I don't remember much else about like the plot and about certain details that happened story-wise. So rewatching it now, there's so much wrong with this movie. There's so much that there's maybe a decent idea there. There's maybe a good movie in there somewhere, but it ain't it. This ain't it. So we start off at the very beginning where we get this old scene of the ancient Egyptians and apparently the Jinn, who is this evil genie, demon-like figure. He's granting wishes to this Egyptian king, this pharaoh, whatever the fuck. And if he gets his third wish granted, then the Jinn is able to become his own god or whatever the fuck. Somehow the other Egyptian dude is explaining to the pharaoh the rules of these three wishes. Like somehow he knows. How did he figure it out? Who gives a shit? Who gives a fuck, right? But instead of the wish, the Jinn gets captured and trapped into this random ass red gem. And then we skip ahead however many years later, present day, and the gem is a part of the statue. And of course, because somebody is drinking on the job, very goofily by the way, the thing falls and breaks and somebody steals the gem, and then that gem gets sold to somebody else who then gets sold to another person and then winds up in the hands of this girl Alex. Now, even though it's already been passed from hand to hand, even though Alex was not the first person to obtain this gem, and so really she wasn't the one that released the Jinn or set him free or whatever the fuck, but movie convenience, she is the one who I guess the Jinn thinks set him free, so he targets her. And this is such a weird thing, you know. Like I said, it's a decent idea in a way of like, hey, you know those genies that we've sort of made movies about and they even reference Robin Williams, like you think of the genie and you think of something fun and goofy and family friendly. But in reality, they're evil and they're sick and they're twisted and they're selfish and all they want to do is see the world burn. And so there's something to that, you know. There's a twist on what is normally a nice image, and to twist that into something evil, it's like, yes, I can see that as a premise working. I can probably see Wes Craven hearing that idea and say, fuck yeah, let's make that a movie. I'll put my name on it. Even though he probably didn't go much further in seeing the script and seeing the actual dailies before this fucking film was put together. Let's talk about the actors before we get too much further into stuff that goes down. Alex, the main actress, is played by Tammy Lauren. And she looks familiar, but I don't know if I've seen her in anything else. Maybe I just recognize her from watching this movie as a kid. I will say this. For a lot of the bad acting, and there is plenty of bad acting in this movie, not even just from extras, I'm talking about actual people, big actors or big characters in the movie. It's like the acting's really bad all the way around, but she's good. You know, as good as she can be, as good as the material that she has, given to her, she's able to make it work. There's a lot of scenes of her having to freak out, having to just scream randomly out of nowhere, but for some reason it doesn't come off as forced and phony and fake as you would think, or as we've probably seen before. She does have a genuine, I'm fucking going crazy right now look on her face all the time, and it actually makes sense given what's going on. I don't understand. I already mentioned how she's not really the one who unleashes him, but okay, fine. But every time the Jinn makes a wish, grants a wish on somebody, and I guess in exchange he takes their soul, she has a reaction to it as if either she's having visions of it or she can also feel the pain of whoever happens to be dying or whatever the fuck is happening. And I don't understand these powers. I don't understand how any of this works. There's a lot of this to where I'm just kind of watching and I'm trying to make sense of it, and then I'm like, okay, this is just a dumb horror movie. Stop trying to make sense of it. But then they try to have dialogue and they try to have moments where they try to explain it, but it just makes it even more confusing, really, because there's a scene where the Jinn presents himself to Alex and sort of tells her, hey, I need you to grant 3 wishes and then I'll be free. And when she says to him, well, what if I just wish for you to kill yourself? And I was thinking the same thing. Like, well, what if somebody just says, go kill yourself, dude? He has to do it, right? And he comes up with this whole rigmarole of, well, you can't kill what cannot be killed. I'm like, wait, what? That's bullshit, you know? And so they try to force it. They try to explain it. There's also a moment when he's trying to get information about like her address, right? He's trying to find Alex's address. And he's talking to somebody and he says, God damn it, I have all these powers, but I can't use them unless somebody wishes me to. And then it's like, well, then why is there so many scenes of him using powers without somebody wishing it? There's a scene where, because he's walking around with a robe on and a hood and he has this demonic face, he goes to, I don't know if it's a hospital or if it's I don't know, there's a bunch of dead bodies. And he's cutting the face of one of the dead bodies because he wants to wear this face. He wants to look normal. And all he does is he cuts the face Leatherface style. He only cuts like that area. And he peels it off and he puts it onto his face. And then magically the rest of the hair and the rest of the body come too. And I'm like, well, you're using magic. There's no physical real way of this working. Okay, you're nitpicking, Mike. Like, why are you looking for? But and then there's a scene later on where he has to cut the face off of a woman who was a friend to Alex, so that he can pretend to be her. And I'm just like, no. When you're able to use your powers like that, just because you want to, or just because you want to disguise yourself, that's not somebody wishing. Nobody wished for you to look like a human. You did that all on your own. Nobody wished for you to look like her friend. No, you just did that. So, again, there's so many moments of inconsistencies like that. There's even times when he asked this pretty woman because of course he can't just manifest clothes, right? No, he has to go and buy a suit at a clothes store, and he tells the lady, hey, how does it feel that you're gonna grow old one day and you're gonna lose your looks? Why don't you wish to be beautiful forever? So of course she wishes to be beautiful forever, and then he just turns her into a doll or a mannequin, a statue in the store. And it's like, you're playing fast and loose with these wishes, and like, it's not clear. You're just sort of making it up. There's a lot of cameos from obvious horror icons in this movie, like Robert Englund. He kind of has a part throughout the film. Ted Raimi, who's only in it for like a second, but I did recognize him. Kane Hodder, who they did My Man Dirty in his one scene. And Tony Todd, another guy that they did dirty because the guy says, hey, Tony Todd, because Tony Todd's playing a doorman, of course, the one black guy, he's the doorman. And the guy says, hey, don't you want to be out of this profession? Don't you want to escape? And Tony Todd's like, well, God damn it, yes. And by the way, Tony Todd's voice just as deep and more threatening than this Wishmaster dude, the forced voice that the Wishmaster has. I'll get into him in a minute. But because he's like, oh yeah, I'd love to escape, he then just puts Tony Todd into a cube full of water, and he's cross-jacketed, and he's like, oh, Houdini did it in 2 minutes, ha 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 ha, and he walks away. So of course Tony Todd's gonna die, and I'm like, this is bullshit. These wishes are bullshit. You're trying to be clever. You're trying to have this guy be like, ooh, I can twist words and do, but it's not clever. You're forcing it. All of it's forced. The guy that does play the demon or the djinn or the Wishmaster, whatever the fuck you want to call him, he's played by Andrew Divoff. And I don't know. I'm not going to say that this guy was a bad actor, because when he was in human form, he was decent. When you actually got to see his face and his creepy smile and his eyes, I'm like, okay, there's clearly a creep factor to him. He's delivering that a lot better. But when he's in the makeup, you can tell that he feels confined. You can tell that he feels restricted, because they obviously dubbed over his voice. And I guess it was just his own voice, but he dubbed over it. But whenever he's the demon form, he doesn't sound natural. His voice sounds like it's in a recording booth, like it doesn't sound like he's actually there. So therefore the voice doesn't sound creepy at all. And that's a big issue, I'm never scared of this guy. I'm always just kind of looking at him and kind of thinking he's a joke. I will say that when it comes to kills and gore and whatnot, there are some decent practical effects. Obviously, it's in the mid-90s, so you're not going to have CGI, really. But there's one moment in particular at the very beginning where one of the guys is freaking out. He falls, and then his skeleton, his bones start to rip through his skin and even through his face, the skeleton. And I'm like, holy shit, that actually looked really good. The practical effects, and that looked disturbing. But then the skeleton is like running around and jumping on people's backs, and I'm like, all right, you took what did look creepy and disturbing and could have been fucked up and immediately made it goofy and just took this creep and scare factor out of that moment, and several other practical effect moments, kind of a similar deal. So look, this movie, it's lame. It is. It tries to be edgy with the gore. It tries to sort of, scare you, and it tries to shock you with a lot of this stuff. But I just felt like it was forced. I felt like it was lame. I felt like there was really nothing that this movie could have done to make this coherent or make this make sense or make this interesting, especially the very end and the way how this all wraps up. Holy fuck. Terrible. It is. It's terrible. I actually rewatched this thinking that, oh, well, maybe this is something. Maybe there will be something to this. I was wrong. So, guys, let me know in the comments below if you've seen Wishmaster. What did you think of it? Did you like it more than I did? Are you nostalgic about it? Or do you agree that this movie sucks? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later. Please won't you save my desires on fire? Sometimes you need a little piece at home. On fire, that's so wired. Come follow me and I can lose you. Come follow me and take a trip to the dark side.